The Dallas Mavericks, coming off the successes of last season, even with the injuries to their star forward Kristaps Porzingis, have struggled mightily this year with consistency. Starting the season, standing right now at 19-17, 8th in the Western Conference, coming off a loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder. When you look at this roster, it's hard to really determine where their true weaknesses lie. At point guard, they have Luka Doncic. They have a solid backup point guard in Trey Burke. They have strong shooting guard support with Josh Richardson and Tim Hardaway Jr. Players like Kristaps Porzingis, backed up by Maxi Kleber, and even strong at the center position with Dwight Powell, Boban Marjanovic. And then they even were able to bring in some solid rookie draft picks in Tyrell Terry and Josh Green. And we haven't even mentioned Jalen Brunson, who's playing light years above where many predicted he could play in the NBA. Yet this team has struggled, and it's really, really hard to pinpoint why. So going into the NBA's trade deadline, what potential trades could be made to break up this core group that could help accelerate Dallas back into the mix of true playoff contention? And that's really hard to ascertain when you look at some of the great signings, great contracts, and great players on this team. Do they move Tim Hardaway Jr.? He's been good, he's not been great. Do they move Willie Cauley-Stein, a big who seems to be a prized possession for contending teams this year, as most contending teams could use an additional big to shore up their front line? Let's take a deeper look into what Mark Cuban says the Dallas Mavericks need to do to become a better team this year.
Mark, I thought your Dallas Mavericks were playoff sleepers this year. I thought you'd have beaten the Clippers last year if Porzingis didn't get some bad calls and then get hurt. I look at Porzingis now, and he's coming off a big, at least offensive game, and he every year it seems has to spend the entire season getting back to where he was, so he never gets to become what he should be. And there are rumors that he could be available in the right deal and all of that. Where are you on Kristaps Porzingis?
Patient, because you saw what KP can be last night. We're seeing more of that. It takes time. I mean, look at KD, different injury, but you've got to be patient, particularly this year. I mean, it's just such a crazy year. We got hit by a COVID outbreak, really bad, and that impacted our season. And everybody was like panicking and saying, you got to do A, B, or C. We don't. We have a good team. KP is showing what KP is. I mean, he's a great top 20 player. And so we're just going to be patient. We have a good team. There's no reason to panic or do anything.
Well, I definitely think you're right, and you've proven yourself to be right. You've won 4 straight. You won 11 of your last 14 games. Y'all are looking pretty good right now. But let me rewind the clock just a little bit to Luka Doncic a little bit earlier this season, because he sort of called out the team in terms of saying that we got to do better. We got to do better and what have you. And when he said that, that's when people got up in arms, started really, really worrying about the Dallas Mavericks. When you heard him say that at that particular moment in time, Mark, what did you take from it, and how concerned were you that your young superstar was not happy?
Well, you talk to him. Nobody likes going through a losing streak, right? When you're in the middle of a losing streak, it's always painful, and it's always hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And we just had the coach and I had conversations with all the players, and I just told him, look, we're not panicking. We had 5 of our top 8 rotation players out, either sick or contact tracing, all at the same time. We've lost more games to COVID illness than any other team in the NBA. We had the hardest schedule in the NBA. So all of a sudden, all those things are turning back in our favor. We're healthier. We're healthy. The schedule is tough for everybody in the second half, but it's a little bit lighter for us compared to the first half. And so, now look at our record. We were 5 games under 500. And now we're 3 over and a chance to go 4 over tonight. So, this every NBA season is a little bit crazy, but this one was a lot crazy. And I just preach patience.
When we look at the Dallas Mavericks, something strange is happening with Kristaps Porzingis. And I'm not talking about his slow, sometimes sloppy start to the season. The Hoops world keeps hearing whispers that Luka Doncic's co-star might be available. First, Bleacher Report's Jake Fischer reported the Dallas Mavericks had quietly gauged Porzingis' trade market. Then Mavericks governor Mark Cuban said that wasn't the case, per Brad Townsend of the Dallas Morning News. Now ESPN's Tim MacMahon brought word that there's a perception among executives around the league that Porzingis could be had. In this case, it's easier to trust the scribes than Cuban. Assuming the Mavericks are in fact poking around on a Porzingis deal, it does nothing to acknowledge as much. And if they're less than convinced he's the right Robin for Doncic's Batman, then they should be seeing what might be available in trades. What Dallas really needs, though, is a good Porzingis to show up consistently. That has happened more often of late. He's averaging 22.3 points per game on 50% shooting from the field, 40% three-point shooting, and 85% shooting from the free throw line over his last 11 games. But this mini surge must be sustainable for Kristaps Porzingis. If the Mavs did move him, they almost assuredly wouldn't bring back a star. So their focus should be on putting him back in that class as a 7-3 shot blocker or shot splasher. Here at FYF Sports, we believe that the Dallas Mavericks keep Kristaps Porzingis at the trade deadline, and as Mark Cuban said, continue with their motto of patience as this team gets better going into the second half of the season.